Hey, what's happening? Good morning, everybody. You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and today is Monday, May 1st, 2023. We got another one of these rundown videos for you guys today. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. We're going to be talking about how the markets closed on Friday, what the crypto space is looking like. We're going to be talking a little bit more about Binance backing out of the deal to buy Voyager and what that means for people who had money trapped in Voyager, myself included. We got a story about two Russians who prank called Jay Powell pretending to be Zelensky, and Jay Powell admitted that a recession is basically guaranteed at this point. We're going to be talking about a big societal problem with baby boomers, the largest generation ever retiring, and we have smaller generations like Gen X and Gen Z who can't replace them, and we also have millennials who kind of had their entire career tracks thrown off course by the Great Recession, who aren't really in a place to replace them either, and how that's causing a lot of these labor shortages. We got Jack Dorsey has a new social media platform called Blue Sky. We got Amazon stock going up and down. They did beat earnings, although they've admitted that their cloud growth is slowing. We got Meta laying off more employees, Jenny Craig closing brick and mortar locations, laying off employees. More layoffs from Gap. Dropbox is laying off 500 employees, 16% of the workforce. AI is being blamed. Clubhouse layoffs. Whole bunch of layoffs. We talked about the 3M layoffs the other week. That's kind of troubling because 3M isn't some tech company. 3M makes products that people actually need and that people actually use. Best Buy is kind of transitioning away from brick and mortar stores, laying off a bunch of employees, and a whole lot more to talk about in today's video. Before we get started, let's give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. The sponsor of today's video is Temu. Temu is an online shopping platform very similar to a Wish.com, an AliExpress.com, a DHgate.com. I actually think the interface is a lot better. The shipping times are better. They seem to have more unique items. And because it's a newer platform and it has to be competitive and try to gain some market share, the prices are super competitive. I've noticed AliExpress has gotten a lot more expensive over the years. A lot less items have free shipping. Their affiliate program has gotten a lot less lucrative. Basically, when companies start out at the beginning, they need to bring in customers, so they keep prices low. They're very friendly to consumers. Look at Amazon. Look at how cheap Prime used to be. Look at how friendly they used to be with returns. And then once Amazon becomes a household name, well, now you can't get a free return and just drop something in the mail. You got to go to a Kohl's store. Your items aren't necessarily arriving in 2 days. They're arriving in 5 days. So as companies go on, things tend to get worse. But right now, because Temu is a new platform, prices are great, shipping is fast, unique items, a lot of gamification in terms of coupon codes and things like that. And they have a pretty lucrative affiliate program for those of you guys out there who are affiliates. They're offering $5 per app download, 20% commissions or up to 20% commissions. And you can offer people who sign up a 30% coupon to use on their first purchase. So check out the link in the description box below. Temu, I've been buying a lot of items to kind of help start my garden. Felt grow bags, trellis nets for my cucumbers and my tomatoes, and even just a bunch of like travel gadgets and gadgets around the house. Things that on Amazon would be $10, $12, $15, $24 you can find on Temu for $1, $2, $4. So check them out. Link and coupon code in the description box below. Let's talk about how the markets closed up on Friday. The Dow finished up 272 points. NASDAQ finished up 1%, and the S&P 500 finished up 0.83%. Most cryptos are up on the 7-day chart, up on the week, but down on the 24-hour. We currently have Bitcoin sitting at $29,211, Ethereum sitting at $19.01, and BNB sitting at $321. So last week, I think I briefly mentioned this, but Voyager, the Voyager deal is done. Binance backed out of buying Voyager. It kind of worked out for Binance. Binance wound up getting all these new signups because everybody who wanted to get their Voyager funds had to go sign up for a Binance.us account, with the exception of people in like Alaska, with the exception of people in Hawaii and Texas, who couldn't sign up. But Binance already got all these new signups. Binance already got access to the customer information, emails, etc., and they don't even have to go through with the deal. I guess Binance is going to forfeit $10 million in good faith money, plus potentially some other penalties. Voyager's Chapter 11 bankruptcy plan did have a toggle option. They're no longer going to seek a new buyer. We've already had a deal with FTX that fell through, now a deal with Binance that fell through. So apparently the plan moving forward is to distribute the money, cash and crypto, to customers. People are waiting for the next steps. If you are a Voyager customer who has money trapped, you can call 1-855 473-8665. That's the bankruptcy hotline for more information, or if you need to know more about your situation. And again, that number is 1-855-473-8665. Some people are expecting that we'll get payouts sometime in June. The hope is that it's somewhere between like 40 and 65% of what we had trapped. But it's unsure how these payouts are going to play out, and I think it may wind up being a lot longer than June. So I'd kind of teased this story in the intro. We had two Russian prank callers called Jay Powell pretending to be Vladimir Zelensky. Jay Powell went on to say growth in 2022 was a lot smaller than we expected. It was modest but subdued. He said, we have forecasts that believe that growth in 2023 is going to be modest, less than 1%. He said a recession is almost as likely as slow growth. So essentially a recession is almost guaranteed. He said the labor market, wages, and the economy need to be cooled down. It will be painful, but we don't have another way. And these prank callers said, won't the standard of living of Americans fall? I think it's already fallen quite a bit. He went on to say the market is already pricing in 2 more rate hikes. And that they will keep rates high for quite some time. You almost wondered, like, did he really believe this? Because these were like super fake Russian accents. Obviously I went in with the foresight of knowing this was a prank call, so maybe it was easier for me to see it was a prank call. If you're Jay Powell and somebody tells you, hey, Zelensky's on the phone, I guess you're going to assume that he's been vetted and assume it is them. But it was like a really bad Russian accent. Just the way they were talking, it seemed really fake to me. A lot of people are questioning whether this was, kind of a leak or a purposeful disclosure. But if this is real, it's kind of disturbing that Jay Powell was more honest and forthcoming with Zelensky than he was with the American people. Let's see, we already talked about the Voyager deal. I'm not going to harp on this too much, but there's kind of a big societal problem brewing. So baby boomers are the largest generation ever. A lot of them have retired, and a lot of them are going to be retiring in the coming months and coming years. So who's going to replace them in the labor market? Well, we have Gen X's, who are one of the smaller generations, so they can't possibly replace the largest generation. We have Gen Z, who are a smaller generation, and a lot of them aren't even of age to work yet. And we have millennials who aren't a great replacement. Millennials graduated into the Great Recession. That completely threw off the career track of a lot of millennials. A lot of millennials who would have gone into certain career tracks, wound up working retail through most of their 20s, or wound up working very, very low-level office jobs, because during the Great Recession, the jobs that millennials normally would have graduated and come into were taken by older senior people who were working jobs much below their pay scale. So there's kind of a huge problem brewing with who's going to replace boomers in the workforce. On to the next story. Jack Dorsey has it's not really new, but we're starting to hear about it a lot. Jack Dorsey has a quote-unquote new social media platform called Blue Sky. Looks an awful lot like Twitter. It actually originated under Twitter in 2019, but was eventually spun off to become its own company. The program is currently invite-only, although you can visit their website and sign up for a wait list. I believe it's like bluesky.app. But if you Google, Blue Sky app or Blue Sky Jack Dorsey or something like that, you'll definitely come across the website if you want to check that out. Amazon stock has been wild the past couple days. The stock went from $103 to $120 and then back down to about $105. Well, Amazon beat expectations. Cloud growth is slowing. Companies are trimming back on cloud costs. And also a lot of these newer tech companies and startups who were using AWS, now that VC money has dried up, now that cheap loans have dried up, a lot of these companies are going away. We also have a lot of zombie tech companies going away. And these were a lot of the companies that would have been using Amazon AWS. Amazon has also been shutting down Amazon Go stores, and Whole Foods is struggling as well. Amazon is trying to compete in a market that other grocers have been competing in for decades. And one thing that Amazon has been struggling to adapt to are the razor-thin margins that the grocery industry faces. Also, in this economy, a lot of the shoppers who previously would have shopped at Whole Foods are shopping down in stores like Walmart, Target, Aldi, and Trader Joe's. We got an article from Fortune. On Thursday, Lyft's new CEO laid off over 1,000 employees. And on Friday, he ordered the remaining ones back into the office. They got rid of 26% of their workforce. And after Labor Day, employees will be required to return to the office 3 days per week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Lyft has also begun to sublease their office spaces, which kind of signals that more layoffs are likely on the way, and they're likely not going to be rehiring new employees anytime soon. Meta, who's been doing layoffs left and right, They've laid off another 1,150 employees. We got Jenny Craig, the weight loss company who's been around since 1983. They offer diet plans and pre-cooked meals. They're looking for a buyer for the company. They're also going to be closing their brick and mortar locations and moving to an online model, and they've warned of mass layoffs on the way. We have Gap laying off 1,800 corporate employees. They had previously laid off another 500. The company has been on their back heels for years, and it's reported that they don't have good leadership, nor do they have a good strategy moving forward. And they were one of the companies around the time that Adidas did that they cut ties with Kanye West. So Kanye West was kind of their modern kind of urban influencer guy. Well, they no longer got Kanye, so there's really no plan moving forward. Dropbox to lay off 500 employees. That's 16% of their workforce. AI has been blamed for this, and the company says that the future of the company hinges on being able to harness AI effectively. Clubhouse, which grew substantially during the Mexican beer cough, a lot of people were migrating to Clubhouse for communication and to connect with people. They had a valuation of over $400 billion during the Mexican beer cough. It seems like that app has kind of died off. They're laying off half of their employees. And I don't know if Clubhouse ever went to Android. Initially, I think one of the things that made Clubhouse kind of popular is that it was like an invite-only model. Like each person who was on the app could invite like 2 or 3 more people. But it was only available for iOS, only available for Apple phones. And that's one of the things that kept me from using it. I think the app has kind of died off. I don't know if it ever wound up rolling out to Android. If you guys know, let me know. Drop a comment. USPS vows no layoffs in the ongoing network consolidation effort. There's also talk that USPS is going to get back into banking. They're going to offer like personal bank accounts and things like that. USPS can't even deliver packages efficiently. Anytime I go into USPS, I can't say I'm really impressed by the employees. So the idea that USPS employees are going to be able to run a bank doesn't seem that likely, but that is something being talked about. And one of the things happening with USPS that we talked about, I think it was the Economic Ninja who did a video on this the other day. He said USPS employees who traditionally have been forced to work 6 days a week, 7 days a week, mandatory overtime, they're being told, hey, can you take like a 7-day vacation? They're being sent home 2 hours into their shift. They're being tasked with like cleaning up and organizing warehouses just because there's nothing to do. There's no packages moving. There's no mail moving. But USPS is on a hiring spree right now, and what's stupid about this is back during the Mexican beer cough, there a lot of people were ordering things online. Almost everything was being ordered online, and there was a huge demand for workers at USPS. And their union said we need to get more employees. Our employees are being overworked. They can't take days off. Well, it took 2 years, but now that demand has completely stopped. 2 years later, the government is finally deciding let's hire more employees at a time that we don't even need them. Vice Media cancels its flagship Vice News Tonight program as it makes painful layoffs and restructures the company. We recently talked about how BuzzFeed, the entire platform was pretty much axed. It was rolled back into Huffington Post, and a significant portion of their employees were laid off. And on a somewhat related note, as I search for news for these daily stories, one thing that I'm amazed by is how many of the news sites are pay-gated. It's probably more sites are pay-gated than not pay-gated. It's kind of frustrating when trying to get news for stories. A lot of the layoffs that we hear about are these big tech companies, and even just larger companies like 3M. But what we don't often hear about are the smaller companies laying people off, the small community hospitals, the small regional hospitals, the small universities. We got Savannah State University laying off 23 staffers in a reduction to offset declining enrollment. Some other small layoffs I found just in my home state of Illinois. And these are just a couple of the many. Layoffs begin at Natural Fiber Welding, a Peoria company who's laid off 10% of their staff. There's also an Illinois auto factory that's closing and laying off employees. They're laying off 100 employees who previously assembled Jeeps. There was another auto manufacturer, I think in Benton Harbor, Michigan, that was laid off. We talked about the other day, and I kind of talked about how terrible that was for that area. That's a really depressed area. There's not a lot of industry. There's not a lot of jobs. Pretty much the only thing in the town is marijuana dispensaries. And that's actually where I go to get my weed. But there's not much in the town besides that. We also got another company in Illinois, Owens Glass, laying off 90. Best Buy is laying off hundreds of store workers in a push to online. According to the Wall Street Journal, we've kind of talked about this. A lot of these stores are deciding, not only is there less demand overall, but more people are shopping online. It takes a lot less people, and it's a lot more efficient to run an online store than it is to run brick and mortar stores where we have to pay leases, pay for electricity, have employees clean the aisles. Let's just transition to online models. We also have 3M doing layoffs. We talked about this last week, but this is troubling because, 3M isn't a company like DocuSign or Dropbox. 3M is a company who noticed that the narrative around remote work is shifting. Here's just a couple headlines that I've seen in the last 24 hours. CNN had a headline, "Why Remote Work Isn't Right for Everyone." There was another story, "Why Remote Work Sucks." And in a third story that I saw this morning, "Remote work is killing Bring Your Daughter to Work Day." So for the longest time, it was, oh my gosh, remote work is so amazing. Remote work is so great. People are taking their lives back. And now we're seeing that narrative transition to remote work isn't all that great. We got an article from the LA Times, "Why Remote Work is a Blue State Privilege." And they talk about how it's much more common in blue states. Blue states tend to have more of a tech presence. I think that's part of it. Also, blue states took the Mexican beer cough a lot more seriously, and it had a lot more lockdowns and preventative measures. So I think it's just kind of... it's not surprising that a lot of those measures, including remote work, have stuck around. And one of the biggest, what's the opposite of a proponent or an advocate? One of the biggest critics of remote work has been Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon says that he understands workers' threats not to go into the office, but he said they'll have to do it elsewhere. He basically blames employees who didn't follow the rules for the tough stance. This will likely create a ripple effect through the entire industry. We have Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, among others, who have echoed Jamie Dimon's stance. And Jamie Dimon went on to say, "People don't like commuting, but so what?" I think there's a valid argument to be made that work from home is better for mental health. It's better for families. It's better for society. It's better for work-life balance. And I think that's a valid argument, but let's stop pretending like remote work is more efficient than in office, right? I think that's just kind of a talking point of people who want to continue working remotely. As a society, if we decide that, maybe 1% added productivity isn't more important than people's mental health and families and society as a whole, then maybe we could kind of encourage companies to adopt, remote work policies. But the idea that we're going to pretend like it's a better way of working or communication is better or it's more efficient probably isn't true. Let's see. The plan is for JP Morgan Chase employees to be back in the office 5 days per week. I think it's currently 3 or 4 days per week. Jamie Dimon went on to say, "I feel for people about gas prices, but more so normal office." Oh, no, this was me. A lot of these people are like, "Oh my gosh, gas prices are high and I don't like commuting." I feel for people who are working minimum wage jobs, for people who are working retail, and even for normal office workers. But a lot of these upper management who are being forced back into the office at JP Morgan Chase, these guys are making $250,000 plus. These guys are making $300,000, $500,000, $700,000 a year. So their complaints about gas prices kind of fall on deaf ears with me. People talk about the me entitlement, but like they say, ultimately the person signing the checks is going to be the one to make the call, and it really depends on how integral you are to your company. If you are a critical player to your company's success and you say, "I want to work remote," well, they may wind up letting you work remote. But if you can be easily replaced, you don't have a lot of leverage. And one thing that some of these articles have touched on is the whole idea of people who are quote unquote hard to get a hold of. Have ruined things for others. Now, I saw a good quote from somebody the other day in an article about remote work. They say, look, your company knows that you're not working at 110%, 8 hours a day. I think everybody kind of realizes that. I don't think that's necessarily expected. But they said part of what you're paid for is your availability. So, if you're out grocery shopping for 2 hours a day, going for a bike ride, traveling at the library, whatever else, part of why you're being paid is because you're available from 8 in the morning till 5 at night. So even if you don't do anything for 2 hours, if something comes up and a client or somebody in another department needs you, they can get a hold of you quickly. But with people working remotely, a lot of people are stepping away from their computers, taking their kids to school, grocery shopping, and doing other things. And then some other department needs some information from you or needs something from you to finish a task, and they hit you up on chat or messenger or try to call you, and you're unavailable for 2 or 3 hours. That puts back everything that they're doing as well. But that's kind of the news for today. About 20 minutes in, so decent length video. I'm actually going to be heading out of town this week, so I should definitely be able to get a video out for you guys on Wednesday. Maybe or maybe not Friday, but you guys should at least be able to expect a video from me on Wednesday. I'll try to get one out to you guys on Friday. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and opinions on anything we've discussed in today's video, so drop a comment down below. Be sure to check out the sponsor of today's video, Temu. Link in the description box below. I'll also include a coupon code for 30% off your first purchase. If you guys enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on Wednesday's video. Later. Peace. I'm out.